I'm going to tell you a story about a samurai. You see, this samurai's master had been murdered, and it became his sacred duty to avenge that murder. And the easy part was that he knew exactly who had committed the murder. And so he found himself face to face with the murderer of his master. He had his hand on his sword. He had his sword drawn. And he was one strike away from completing this sacred mission he was on to avenge his master's murder. But in that moment, this person who had killed in cold blood his master looked at the samurai and spit in the samurai's face. And in that moment, a wave of rage rose up in the samurai. He was boiling, he was triggered, he was angry, he was about to explode. And he had the awareness and the wherewithal in that moment to realize something very important. And he took his sword and he resheathed it and he left. No one could believe it. How could the samurai abandon his sacred duty when he was this close to finishing this? Finishing this mission of vengeance. And so they asked him, "Sir, how could you not complete your mission? You were this close." And he said, "I realized that striking in anger would violate my samurai code. Striking in anger would make it personal. And I was on a mission of sacred duty that was bigger than myself. This was not a personal mission. This is why I could not complete my mission in a state of anger." And I think this is beautiful, beautiful wisdom and insight for how we can carry ourselves in all moments, really, but maybe in particular in this moment in history when there's so much tension and divisiveness and we're so easily triggered and roused into anger. And hopefully we are not walking around with swords ready to strike physically, but our words can be swords. Even our thoughts can be swords. And if we realize that when we unleash words from a place of anger, there's a whole different repercussion. There's a whole different karma to this when things come from a source of anger and personal vengeance, right? So like the samurai, can we catch ourselves in that gap, in that moment, and refrain? And maybe we do have a sense of sacred duty, a sense of justice that we want to bring about on this planet right now. And there might be days that seem dark, and anger might be the natural reaction. But what if we can find that gap, that space, like the samurai, and pause and step back and maybe approach the situation from a place of calm and clarity? I think that's beautiful wisdom. Now, I first heard this story from Joseph Campbell. He was an anthropologist who studied cultures. He popularized this idea of the hero's journey or the monomyth. Great topic. I'll probably make a video on that at some point soon. And he was having a conversation with Bill Moyers, the great journalist, about Joseph Campbell's book called The Power of Myth. And that's where he retold this samurai tale. Now, there's a little bit of uncertainty about if that's really a samurai tale or if it's from the Sufi tradition. Joseph Campbell told it as a samurai myth, and I think it fits that way. But the point, I think the essence of the story stands really regardless of the original origin. And I hope you feel like I do, that it's a piece of relevant wisdom for us today. And let me know your biggest takeaway from the samurai story.